hard, because this has exasperated the issues she had previously.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I'm kind of busy with that and a couple other things, so I gotta get back to the planning trip, before it's too late.
Was your friend, or did you help
This
your
one
friend?
doesn't have Tammy's house on it.
Well,
It
she
only
came to the
has
hotel
two of the
Before 6 a.m. that morning, she
wildflower.
got evacuated.
Okay.
She was gonna drive over to the hotel, and then it was too busy, too windy, and then we were gonna go, and I said, it was so windy, and I couldn't see, it was so small. I was afraid palm trees would be falling, because the root system is.
All right. It is 6:30. I'll call to order the January 22nd, 2025 City Lake Elmo Parks Commission meeting. Please stand and state the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our next order of business is the election of officers for the Park Commission for 2025.
Yes, so each year, at the beginning of the year, the commission shall select a chairperson and vice chair from amongst its current members. The chairperson shall preside at the meeting and taking nominations for chair and vice chair.
Thank you. And before taking recommendations, unless anybody objects, we can just have a discussion about who may or may not want to get themselves involved in such an endeavor. Anybody object to discussion before a motion? Okay.
I need to decline,
Okay.
or not even throw my hat in before I could decline.
You're not even wearing a hat.
It's gone.
Well, I'll just start off by saying so I've been 2 years. I think that's been great. It would be excellent for somebody else to step in the position. I think we could all potentially have a chance at it. So if somebody else wants to step up, that would be much preferred on my part. That's all I'll say about that. I don't know, does anybody have interest?
Hank, have you been chair before?
No, I have not been chair. I would be chair,
Have
that's fine.
interest?
Interests, I have only got one problem. I'm not gonna be at the big meeting next month. That's my only problem. So I won't have that information. But willing to do it otherwise. Whoever is assistant, make sure they go to that, the vice should be able to go to that meeting. So yes, okay, I'll throw my name in for,
Okay. Ellen, do you have interest? Since you started there.
I feel like I would be more interested in vice chair, perhaps.
Well, Mike, how are you feeling about vice chair these days?
I think we got a couple good candidates right there,
Okay.
is what I think.
All right. Well, do we want to have further discussion on that? Tammy, or you have any thoughts?
It sounds good to me.
We'll get to
I'm
you
here to
guys.
learn for a little more.
We'll get to you first.
Sure. Well, somebody want to make a motion?
I move that, to recommend that Hank be chair of the Parks Commission. I think I have to do two separate motions, correct?
Do one. Could do it that way.
Okay,
Okay, is there a second?
Second,
Oh, go ahead.
We have a second. And again, the motion is to recommend Hank as the chair of Parks Commission for 2025. Is there further discussion on that? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposition. So be it. Congratulations, Hank.
Thank you.
Congratulations, thank you.
So now on to the vice chair. We won't switch seats, will we?
Slide that.
Slide that over.
Unless you want to switch, I can certainly do that, but that seems
All right,
unnecessary.
now we have any nominations, any motions for the vice chair?
Motion to recommend Ellen as vice chair of the Parks Commission?
Second, is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Hank.
I'm a little slow, okay?
I am so sorry. It's gonna be hard to relinquish this power.
It happens.
Don't go far.
Okay,
Oh, sorry.
so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of Commissioner Ellen to be the vice chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? All righty, so congratulations, Ellen.
Congratulations, and thank you.
All rights and powers are now invested in you. All right, we'll look at the agenda for January 22nd. Does anyone have any issues, questions, changes with the agenda? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as written.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion on that agenda? Okay, all in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All right, moving on to item number 5, approving the minutes. And I think the big thing here is that a revision, was that a revision of the, yes, a revision. You want to talk about that, I guess?
Yeah, after they were initially sent out, I did reach out to the clerk, who again, who is subbing in, for our clerk that just left. So I did add that, we put in our 3 recommendations that we had for our goal-setting meeting in there, just so that those are documented for, future reference as well. So she did send an amended, thing of minutes here in the last, probably like the last day, correct? We would have gotten yesterday.
This morning, I
Just to
saw
make
that.
that, note of that, so.
So I just wanted to make sure everybody had those. So any comments on the minutes from December 16th, 2024?
And again, that wasn't videotaped, that was all recorded, so if there is any minute, or any discrepancies, let's make sure that we document those.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes of December 16th, 2024?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion on the motion to approve the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All right, item number 6, no public comment tonight. Item number 7, class playground replacement.
Thank you. So, as last time, I did have just a brief slideshow to go through, so I do have a few slides here yet from, our discussion on Klies Park last time. We are looking to update the playground. Again, that playground was built in 1993. It's exceeded its 25-year lifespan. It's recommended not only in our survey, but also the Parks Master Plan to replace that. Again, all park structures are normally within that 20 to 30 years. The city has put a 25-year lifespan on our playground set, so it's right in the middle of those. As we discussed, I talked about moving the playground, installing trails, trees, as well as benches and picnic tables. So we did reach out to our contractor here in town, Flagship, provided us with two options in your packet. There's more pictures than I'll show you of those, but if you do have questions on any of those, please ask. The first playground set, or the first option, our price does come in right at that $80,000. And a little discussion on that is that I know in our CIP, we do have a list there at that $60,000 range. Couple of things with that is that, as we found out, like with DeMontreville, this is kind of right, this is that 5 to 12-year-old range, and this is kind of where that price fits, okay? So if we start to go down to that $60,000 range, we do lose a lot of those amenities, as well as go down in that, we might even get down to that toddler size. So this is kind of that base set of that 5 to 12-year-old. So that's why that price is a little higher than we initially had written out in that CIP. This first set does include a couple an overhead trek beam, as well as a ski rail climber, a net climber, logo climber, cliff climber. So a lot of climbing things on here, again, addressed to those 5 to 12-year-old range. This one does include 3 slides, a double slide and a single slide, along with the swing set that is capable of 3. Just another side photo of that one. Kind of some interactive things in that one. Again, a lot of climbing, the net cargo that we talked about last week, as well as the tower structure too. As discussed in our previous playgrounds, this size of this one is going to be very similar to what we had at DeMontreville. It's 55 by 53. The red markings on the outside of all these playground sets is a hazard area. So in playground inspections, you'll find that the swing sets are always a large area. They take up a large space because of the catapult structure, right? So if you're on there, kids will catapult themselves out and landing in an area that could be of hazard to somebody else. So when you look at size of playgrounds and dimensions and things like that, that's what those areas are outlined as red, is the fall area or the obstruction area. So when you do look at playgrounds too, is that any spot larger than about a 3 by 3 inch area, that's a play surface area. So up on top of those walk beams, they consider that, although that's not how you should play on it, it is considered a play area, because just like anything, if it's there, people will try something, right? So manufacturers do take that into consideration. So again, that fall height as well as that expansion of that fall area is why we get to the size that we are. Okay. With wood chips, the surface of it as well is a factor. That's why we went against, they go against the pea gravel or the rock now, just for that comfort and that concussion type things that might happen on a fall. So height does come into effect with those. So. Our second option, very similar in price at the $79,000 range. You'll notice a few differences in this one, including the swing. It's only 2. The tower is a lot higher, so our slides are a lot taller and longer as well. Again, 3 slides with this set. Number of different climbers on this one. They call it a lollipop climber. Those are the ones with the little hanging balls out the side of it, to the far left here. Canyon climber, there's a jig climber, there's a cliff climber, as well as a grid walk on this one as well. A grid walk is in the center between the slide and the tower. Again, like I said, even though you're not supposed to climb on top of it, that is part of the, they always consider, like, if you're not supposed to, someone's gonna try it, right? So we take those things into safety considerations when looking at that. As size-wise, again, we're looking at pretty much approximately the same size, 55 by 53 on this set. We do have a couple spinners, very similar to what we have at DeMontreville too in the lower portion of that picture. Wanted to go into a couple comments that was brought up at our last Parks Commission meeting. I know, Peter, you had brought up, what can we attract to bring the teenagers to this thing? And one thing we need to understand is that when we go by ages of our playground sets, so we got that 0 to 5 as a toddler, 5 to 12 as that next phase, and then that 12 or 13 plus, is that we need to separate those items. So inside our 55 by 53, we wouldn't be able to have something that would attract a teenager, right? So these items would need to be separated. So with that increases the cost as well. So I did reach out to our contractor, and they did provide us with a couple options. Maybe I'll skip this one. Well, so a couple options were to remove the overhead hanger on this one and to include what Peter had recommended is maybe like some type of rope climber or something that would attract those teenagers. So this is what they suggested as something it's still capable of holding, a teenager, and maybe they could play on them. However, you wouldn't have to build a whole new structure just to add this. So we could add this to this park. It would still be something for maybe the older kids, you're looking at that 9, 10, 11, 12, and plus, to be able to play on. And it would still incorporate into our size of our 55 by 53. The other item there is a regular bench, but it is considered a fitness bench where you could do pull-ups and sit-ups on. So that's one thing, it's fairly inexpensive, but you can also add additional seating as well as another feature in there. That's probably not, hey, there's a fitness bench, right? Unless somebody knows about it, right? So just something to add, it does add another seating, but it also adds another feature if we're looking at that. So I did want to bring that up, because that was one of the requests in our previous discussion. I was like, hey, let's make sure we add something there. But again, when we do that, we'd have to add a whole nother section, which includes a whole nother concrete barrier if we were to do that. So staff's consideration would be probably lean away from that, creating a whole nother deal, just because the cost is likely gonna double in that. Removing those two swinger seats, including put that A-frame cargo down there, as well as that bench seat in there too. With that, adding these two does expand that concrete border a little bit. Our flagship did indicate that adding these would probably add about $15,000 to the price. The cargo net and some expansion of that concrete to make that fit in there with our fall hazards being incorporated on that, so. Again, just wanted to discuss or make a comment that the staff is recommending that we put an asphalt trail in there as well. We're moving that playground from its current location just out into the center of that. Two large oak trees were removed from the center of that, so it kind of opens that space up a little bit. So, but I think visibility-wise, not only from 53rd, but also Jamaica Avenue, I believe it is. We'll let visitors see that play structure a lot easier, as well as make it more inviting to go to the park. So. Most of this construction will be done by Public Works, so removal of existing place that will be done by Public Works. The construction of the trail initially will be done by Public Works. Again, the bituminous asphalt will be done by our contractor, but again, we're proposing to plant some additional trees inside the park too, just because of the removal of all, not only the ash trees in there, but also those large oak trees removed in the last couple of years as well. So with that, I'll take any questions on the Klies Park or take any recommendations. Unless the commission doesn't feel that we should go this option, we could always table that and go look for additional things if we don't think either of those options will work.
Thank you. So now it's time for questions for Adam.
Ball field to remain though? I know we discussed it last meeting about
Ye-
removing the ball field and maybe adding more green space.
Yeah, I think at this time, our intentions are to leave the ball field unless, something else would come up, so. Again, that would be that could be, if that was our recommendation to remove that at a future time, Public Works, that's something Public Works could do with probably minimal cost.
Okay, thank you.
Adam, do you know, are any of these structures, I don't know what the exact term is, but inclusive play or ADA compliant play type structures, or do you know?
So, neither one is labeled like ADA compliant. They all meet standards for, certain things. So like the one that we put at Pebble Park was definitely designed for, entry and access for someone that might be in a wheelchair, and someone that might have mobility issues and still be able to play in that. So, these would have features that they could use, but it isn't highly like, it isn't, how would you say that? The whole structure isn't
It
really.
wasn't intentionally designed that way.
Like the
Okay.
one at elementary school, which is that way. So it's different, but it is something.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions?
Yeah, I guess I had a question kind of related to that. On the option with the 3 swings, I was wondering if there can be a ADA compliant seat? Like if that is an option that Flagship ever discusses? Because I've seen them around but I have no idea on the clearance or anything like that that they might require, or if that's kind of a standard thing or a big add-on.
So with this one, I would definitely, we could do either one. I would definitely include a child swing, whichever way we go. That's been, I think we've gotten a number of calls of, for the child swing back there. And, you know, that
Okay,
was kind of
okay.
the big push for that. As far as the ADA compliance seat or something that would handle someone with a disability, this one would be capable of holding something like that. It would be a little more of like a rocker
big
type
chair.
situation, or
Okay.
or possibly like a big ring basket type thing, so.
Okay.
Other questions?
I think if we were to go with the second option, I think we would want to add a third swing. For sure. Of the types you were talking about.
The infant or the
Infant or
Toddler.
the
toddler or whatever it
the
is.
accessible one, yeah. Sure. And can you, this is a little off base, but what is the time frame generally from tear down to when the playground's ready to go?
So it really depends on the contractor, right? So as we found out with our last ones, a lot of times they'll come in and they'll put the concrete border in first, because that's a separate contractor that they hire out, right? And so then when they come in, they just give us, you know, normally 2 to 3 weeks heads notice that we're gonna be in there. But like I said, at our last meeting, a lot of times we try to get ahead of the ball so that we're not October, November, trying to put it in. So that's why we brought it a little bit early to get those options out on the table and to possibly move it forward so we could get on the list a little quicker. For possibly a spring or even summer install.
Oh, that would be great, because it
Yeah.
seemed like this past summer, those playgrounds were out of commission for quite a while.
Yeah, and I think, and I think we, you know, at Demontreville, we definitely tore down the Demontreville one long before the other one. And that's mainly, we had the help available at the time, we had our seasonal help, so we utilized them while we had them. Because otherwise, yeah, we get to that fall, and then not only are we doing our street sweeping and everything in the fall with our regular staff, we're trying to take that old play equipment out as well, so.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
I just want to note in our financial section there, it did indicate some of the expenses that go along with this. So in our last projects, we did realize that some of that's coming out of our own budget, so that's why we're trying to put some of this back onto the project. So as you know, that our public works budget for our parks is pretty minimal, right? And so we try to keep that towards our park items that we do now, because otherwise we don't have a child swing for Pebble Park. And we, you know, we elongate those problems just because we don't have a budget there. So I did indicate in there, I hope you understand that some of the stuff like the dumpster and the just the, you know, the extra seed and black dirt and, you know, I'm trying to incorporate this into the project so we don't have to take it out of our own personal budget and limit our resources for other parks throughout the year. So just want to make you aware of that.
Does that include the bench? We talked about benches. The bench is included. The bench is included, right?
Correct, yep, the bench as part of that, yep.
Other questions?
This is the time we want to talk about the teenage options?
Yeah, before we get to that, I just want to remind the commissioners that there's a staff recommendation. You need to look at that. There are other things on the table. There's a lot on the table is my point here. So as we move towards making a motion, we need, because sometimes we argue, not argue, but we work through and patchwork these motions together. So, yes, if you want to have some pre-discussion on the direction, I think that would be okay. But we're trying to get to the motion. Pat?
I like the option of the teenage climber thing. I'm not so excited about that, the pull-up, push-up workbench, or bench, whatever it is, just as a cost-saving measure. But I think it would be nice to implement something that could attract kids a few years beyond the 12-year-old. And I don't know, I've been looking around at other playgrounds to watch for kids using the spinner seats, and I don't often see kids on there, so I don't know if my timing is off or what. Do your kids have any experience with that, Mike?
Not as much, I would say. It ends up being if the playground is busy and it's something open to play on. It kind of what it ends up being, it's not the go-to, right? They're gonna go climb and slide first, right? That's the number one thing, whatever they can climb on. So the removal of even if we remove the saddle spinners and put that A-frame rope climb on it, I mean, it may say it's for 12 plus, but my 6-year-old Daredevil's gonna be on top of that thing in a heartbeat more than she would be on those saddle spinners. So removing those and adding the larger climbing equipment seems like a much better use of space.
So again, we need someone to craft a motion that includes all of the elements that we desire in this playground facility.
One more quick question. Adam, could you please go to those two slides where you had added some stuff, the boxes for the climber? Okay, so this is option 1.
Yep, so if we're looking at option 2, that would be what I would do in that case. I would remove the spinners. If you wanted to add that third swing, likely you would increase that, I'm just gonna take an estimate here. You're probably gonna increase that probably 57 feet by, let's just say 57 feet to add that additional swing and the drop area for that cargo. So,
Does anyone have preferences on option 1 versus option 2?
I like the option too, just with the longer slides, right? The longer slide is a little bit higher, that attracts older kids right there in itself. And if we don't add the push-up bench, can we move that A-frame cargo net further right, which allows the opening for the additional swing? Can that be shifted so we don't have to go wider than 55?
all playgrounds are set up for entrance and exit, right? So, right in front of that, let's see if I can get it. So, as we look, so this is always your entrance, right? And so when
Right.
you always have an entrance to a playground, you always want multiple exits. So they always talk about, your slide, your climbers, you got number of exits. So your lowest spot is your entrance, right? You do have a climber on this side. However, your basic toddler entrance is gonna be right here. So, I think if, providing this option to them, they would likely turn this whole thing around, so that your opening for anybody is wide open, right? So it's
Keep
not-
the toddler entrance away from the 13-year-old jumping on the
Correct.
A-frame.
Yep. Yep.
Makes sense.
Because, yeah, you're, like you said, your excited 8, 9, 10-year-old is gonna use every advantage he can, and he's gonna start down here and just start running, right? So, where, like your 5-year-old is just, gonna barely be able to climb up onto some of these items, so. Potentially.
I agree with Mike regarding option 2 being a really good choice. And I wonder if we could take option 2, add the additional swing and the cargo net, and remove the 2 spinners.
Sounds like the start of a motion.
Getting there.
Make sure you look at all the items that the staff has written in there. So we need a motion.
I'll make a motion. Feel free to edit. I move to recommend to the City Council the request to purchase and install option 2, playset, asphalt trail, trees, installation expenses not to exceed $100,000, with the addition of a swing and the A-frame cargo net, and eliminating the proposed 2 spinner seats. I get everything?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion on this.
Well, do we have to increase that to 115? If we're adding that cargo net? I think, Adam, did you say? it
That
was-
is their estimated expense of adding the cargo net, just, and likely would be several feet additional concrete around there, probably length and width, both ways.
Maybe.
Someone want to move to add an extra 15,000 to the existing motion of 100,000?
Well, this being a preliminary budget, would they come back with more of a formal quote for us? And then
Yeah.
can we readdress, see where the funds actually are?
What the total price would be?
Yeah, this is not to exceed, though.
Right,
We
okay.
can still fit it in here.
Okay.
So do I have a motion for the extra 15,000?
Sure, I have a motion to have the playground expenses not to exceed $115,000, reflecting the cargo net and swing
Okay.
addition.
Amendment to the existing motion? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Now, we're just voting on this one little amendment here, folks.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so now it says that the motion is to move to recommend the city council to request the purchase and install option number 2 with a swing and an aim-free cargo and asphalt trail, trees, sorry, and the installation expense not to exceed $115,000. That's the current motion on the table. Any questions?
Did you need to remove the spinners?
Oh, and remove the spinners. Sorry, I had that on my notes, too. That was my mistake. The 2 spinners. Any other questions on the motion?
No.
Hearing no questions, all in favor of this motion as amended, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. It passes. All right. Pebble parking lot extension. That's a lot of Ps. Pebble parking, park.
Yeah, so, last year we had a couple, citizens come forward, not only with, Sunfish Park, but we also discussed Pebble Park about its parking. With a lot of the new amenities there, not including the new playground set, the pickleball courts, we do have, soccer clubs that play out, a little tyke soccer club, I should say, that plays out there. Little guys, probably the age of like 3 to 5, that play right in that little green space between our tennis and pickleball courts all the way up to, the tree line. So that parking lot does become very, combobulated and full of cars at night, so. And again, just and this photo here just comes from our Parks Master Plan, just as a reminder of the many things that are in there. We got a baseball field, we got open soccer, in there, a zip line, you know, the new playground set, as well as our pickleball, and the pavilion for, with a grill. So, many things going on at this park, and does fill up throughout the day, morning, evening, and night. So one of the things that we're finding out with the parking is that we have, especially with our pickleball courts, is that we begin to get users that use our driveway for parking. So we eliminate a lot of this parking right down here, just because it's a shorter walk than parking way up by the playground set, right? So this becomes a one-lane road, which decreases our visibility down around this curve here, correct? So, as I noted, with the pickleball and tennis courts right on this side, we get cars that are parked all the way out, you know, trucks or cars that are parked there, and so we end up with just a short one-way track in and out of there, which does, again, creates a troublesome for people that are backing out, that are trying to leave, plus those that are coming in, and you do have kids and everything running around there as well. So, Public Works has been in there and removed a number of these dead ash trees throughout here, and it has cleaned some of that up to just get a better look at that here this fall. And so what we're proposing is to remove, it's about 30 feet by 150 feet. And so with that, there is some black dirt in here. This is a pretty good mature maple tree that we do not intend to remove, so this one will stay there. But we do think that squaring up this parking lot from all the way back by our porta potty all the way up here will definitely give us enough space to not only funnel traffic in, but also create potentially a 2-lane behind those that are parked on this side. We do plan to straighten out our parking on this side too, to help with you know, just getting more organized, either a diagonal parking through here, or you know, a straight on parking, just to, again, to get that flow of traffic back to our play area with minimal issues. Just another view from the other side. Again, our porta potty and our fence that goes down to our ballpark's just on this side, but we're looking just to square this up. This does still come out to be about 28 feet back here, but we do find that there is a hill here. Again, where our baseball and soccer fields are, that was technically some type of borrowing pit or gravel pit at one time, and so there's kind of some black dirt or some off-storage stuff that was piled up here, and so there's kind of a slight little hill here. And so we will be cutting this back to that hill and making it flat, so we can put some recycled asphalt in there for parking and driving purposes. One of the things with this is it's a pretty inexpensive project. A lot of it will be done by a Public Works staff. We do propose to put some trees in there. Again, we are taking out some more birch trees, and I think there was a few spruce that are left there that we would take out. But much of that was in there was ash that was dead or dying. And so we would be looking at just placing some mature trees back into the park, not technically in that area, but throughout the park and other areas. But some of this cost would just be for seeding, erosion blanket, because we will be cutting into that hill, is just to make sure that we don't have erosion with with the water and stuff, and pulling all that black dirt back out onto the, onto our parking surface. Again, that parking extension is needed for visibility as well as additional parking. It does open up the visibility of the park. This is one of the parks that we have where we have a lot of vandalism, as well as dumping. So I think from Lake Jane Road, by opening that up, not only gives drivers but police just a better view of back there, because otherwise people hide back there and they just dump things off by the porta potty. And I think it does open that up to give it a better view right down the opening of that park. So with that wall, we would put a rock retaining wall there, just very similar to what we have along our playground set. And that would just be a thing to hold back the black dirt that's there, because again, we will be going into that hillside and it does go up, and there are some larger trees above that we don't plan to remove or harm, but again, just to hold that back and to keep our parking lot square from one side to the next, all the way along there. So one of the things that we did consider is like, well, what do you do with that area that's disturbed? It's likely gonna grow back in buckthorn if you don't keep up with it, or just some sagebrush or whatever it might be. So we thought wildflowers might be an option to put in there. It might bring some visibility, just some like, beauty to the thing that this park probably doesn't have. It is shaded, so we would have to find a mix that would, incorporate more in the shade. So you're gonna see light more in the daytime or in the early mornings than it will the midday to the afternoon. But it might be something that would continue to grow, as well as, but we've gotta take into effect too. There, people will probably walk up there, they'll probably throw garbage and things up there too. But just something neat and unique, might be a little bit different. Something we probably less inexpensive, that's worth a shot to see if it works, and to maybe incorporate in other parks later as well. So,
Yeah,
with that, I'll take any questions or,
Questions.
if appropriate, a motion.
I have a quick question, Adam. I know it's like a gravel lot. What are the options that you typically recommend for helping people find good parking spots instead of just kind of having chaos? Because I know sometimes I've been there and the lot's full, but if people would be more efficient, it's not
Yeah.
really full.
Yeah, right.
And is there, so number one, what are your options, I guess? And number two, if you can ballpark a cost and if you think something would be needed there, that'd be.
So, one thing would be to stage our, like I said, near the pickleball courts. Once we stage our bumpers or our parking bumpers like we want them, I think that'll incorporate people to park correctly, right? So it all starts with the first person that comes in there, right? If they're in a hurry, they come in there and shut it off. Now everybody else has got to follow suit or find a spot, right? So our area down here isn't. We could put those down the middle and incorporate parking in the middle. However, I think you're gonna have more efficiency of people parking, towards the edges and then just one down the middle instead of back to back in the middle. I don't think there's that much room there to have, there probably is, but it's gonna be tight going, trying to make it around. So I think, adding more bumpers down through there, those are pretty inexpensive, less than $100 a piece. We could add those on both sides, but more additional ones, or even additional rocks or the wooden placards down on each side of that too, to incorporate just a more general area of where to park, and a numbering system possibly on that as well.
Okay, cool.
other
But
okay, go ahead.
But it seems like since the cost is inexpensive enough, that might be something that we would look at
Yeah,
halfway through the summer, how it's
you
going.
have,
or-
I think you have like 6 here already, so you'd think, if you were to go all the way down there, you might have up to 20, right? So that'd be additional $2,000, right? So.
Thanks.
Other questions? I've got one. Adam, can you go back to that first drawing that shows that one? When I've been in there at peak times, the problem is really at that corner, right there where you got your marker. And so I like the fact that we're adding the extra parking, but is it worthwhile to put no parking signs around just at that corner? Then nobody would park on either side. So see down there where that pole is? That's where it gets real tight.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think if you drive in there now, you'll see that this area is opened up a little bit more.
Okay.
You know, and I'm not opposed to putting signs. One of our big factors is like, we like to preserve nature. We like people coming in and seeing that, and, to litter it with signs, it's not the cutest thing, but, one or two signs isn't gonna
The other
hurt
thing is to
anything.
widen the road.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I mean, is like, this did open up here a little bit,
But you
so
put
we
another
could-
layer of gravel in there.
We could potentially move this out and just extend that out, that 10 to 15 feet. That would make that throat of that driveway in that area where it's a concern
Yeah.
a little bit wider. So, not opposed to either option.
Okay. Other questions? Then we're looking for a motion. Staff has given us a draft. We've talked about some potential extras.
Any feedback on the wildflowers? Is it something good? We don't want to do?
It's unique, it probably doesn't cost that much.
Yeah, and,
Upkeep bad, they're gonna.
no, I think in the fall, you may cut it back, right? To just replant some seeds that are there, but other than that, our hope is to, that it just continues to grow, right?
Yeah.
And it's just kind of different colors, different nature, different.
I think that would be really nice. I don't know if you have to burn them every 3 years or something like that, but that doesn't take much.
Yeah, I think I would use maybe of a term like ground cover, something with flower and ground cover spread out.
Yeah, just to eliminate that's our biggest thing, just eliminate the buckthorn or, just that, prickly brush and stuff that comes back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a cool idea.
All right, we're looking for a motion.
I move to approve the proposed purchases by city staff and to expand the parking lot at Pebble Park, not to exceed $2,000.
Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second that.
Any discussion on the motion? Like I said, I'm in favor of the extra parking. I've been in there several times when it's just crazy. And those were like Sunday evenings when you didn't have team sports. I assume that like Saturday mornings or something would be worse, but I think the extra parking is a good idea.
It's a good problem to have.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Any other questions or? All right. It is as written, pretty much as in the recommendation. Motion to approve the purchase by city staff and expand the parking lot at Pebble Park not to exceed $2,000. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Next, communications.
Yes, so just a few things on our parks. Again, our public works staff is going through a lot of our parks right now. Currently up at Tablin, just removing a lot of the dead emerald ash borer trees that are in there. Hopes of taking those down, removing them and potentially planting in the near future when we do add projects to our park system. So our ice rink is still open, a lot longer than it was last year, so guys continue to come in early mornings and this last week has been great for making ice. We do have a light problem there, that's probably our biggest issue right now. We're working with our contractor with that, of fixing that. What happens is, when the lights do go off and they push that button again, it is a long time for them to come on, because they do have, it's halogen, so they gotta cool down, and by that time, they probably got up and left already. So, so we are working with that. We do have our chip in there is malfunctioning as well, so the programmer. So it works sometimes, it doesn't work others, so we're in the process of fixing that. Otherwise, we are scheduled for our joint meeting with City Council in February. And I'll let Ellen update us on the committee that she was on last week.
Yeah, so last week on Wednesday, we met. It was actually a two-day workshop that staff were having to set visions for the city and things like that. So a representative from each of the commissions was there, and as we discussed the top 3 opportunities and problems that this commission has is, number 1, to explore that Parks Director following the master plan recommendation, to think about the funding sustainability scheme, and also to be proactive with our approach. The city council was, interested particularly in the 3rd item, and looks forward to discussing with us at that workshop that Adam just mentioned. I know they did finalize the purchase of some land for the pinwheel and whatever else they're thinking about, and hopefully we can work together and have some vision there. So keep that on your radar. Another thing, I guess, that is interesting, or that I certainly found interesting, was the facilitator of this workshop was talking a little bit about the role of governance and staff, and what commissioners do and what staff does, and how we can all work together. And so I think that, the League of Minnesota Cities has some information on that all of you might find, interesting to figure out how to be, how we all collectively can be effective for people that live here and trust us to have some ideas and things like that. But yeah, good meeting. Have nothing to report on the second day. Commissioners were invited to the first day.
So the second day was mainly city staff, again with our contractor, but those goals and stuff will come back, and the city will approve them at a future meeting. So you'll see those goals in the next city council meeting, probably not the next one, but the following one, but just keep an eye out on the agenda for that coming up about the city's future goals. So that is that does happen every 2 to 3 years, so we'll always be looking for a nominee to represent the commission at those.
I guess one quick addition to that, there was a little bit of visioning about what the city's values and mission statement might be, and open space, recreation, parks, that was brought up quite a lot, and so I would definitely, keep your eye out on that, and maybe that's something that city council wants to hear from us as residents, apart from our role as commissioners as well, so.
Thanks for representing us.
You're welcome.
Communication by other commissioners?
I had some questions. When will registration for park use open, or is it already open for summer use?
Yeah, so it is open currently. We've had a number for not only pickleball, but baseball have come in already for our reservable parks, right? So it include Tablin, Pebble, DeMatro Lions, Reed. So we have already seen those starting to come in. So again, our clerk is filling in for our deputy clerk and taking those reservations. So all those reservations are online. The calendar is, you can see online the dates that are available, so.
And I know we had talked about staff looking over the reservation system.
Yep.
Is there a time frame for that?
So, one of the things we've talked about is, so we plan to do that this summer, take a lot of those things that, look at our parks that are reservable, what are future parks that we might want to make reservable, right? But also we have this new thing that might be coming, right? In 3 to 4 years or whatever it might be, right? So how do we incorporate that into a reservation policy, or does it have to be a separate one, right? So we need to take all those things into effect. I did start doing that earlier this year, just kind of grabbing some information from other communities, what they do, costs and things like that. And it was hard to push to implement or ready to go this year when we start in January with those open things, right? So I'd like to take that into possibly a longer discussion, possibly 1 or 2 meetings, just to get your feedback of what I present, and maybe make some additions or corrections, bring that back, so we have a good plan starting in January of 2026.
Okay. And I bring it up because 2 people who I met for the first time, and this was 2 separate meetings, they don't even know each other, mentioned that when they reserve courts at Pebble Park, they really enjoy that they can reserve them, but oftentimes they only want 1 or 2 courts. And they want some sort of posting so that other people know that they can come and use them.
Gotcha.
And also something that if there are 6 courts filled, and they want to be able to say, well, we have these courts reserved.
Gotcha.
I guess there might have been some issues before with people not leaving the court because it wasn't specific. So I'm just
Yeah, and I
passing
think
that forward.
we had the same issue with of volleyball as well. So if somebody reserves it for volleyball, it's been asked, are they reserving both of them or just one of them? And is the other one open? So it's a great point. We can always update that. I know our our clerk did reach out as far as, what's reservable. And right now, again, Lions only has the 3 nets. We do remove that 4th one just because of the court conditions, the tripping hazard that's there. So that does, if you are reserving that, you are limited down to 3 already. So, yeah, but like you said, can that still be opened up to say, hey, I'm only using 1 versus all 3 of them?
Thank you, Adam.
Other communications? Just a reminder, we're still 1 member short. Friends, neighbors, acquaintances, anyone that you think would be good as a commissioner?
I reached out to Stillwater High School today, and also to our former commissioner, co-commissioner Juan,
Okay,
looking for teenagers who may be interested.
excellent, excellent. Okay, hearing no other needs for communications, do I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
The meeting's adjourned.